So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take all 10 liveries, actually 11, but I'll explain that in a minute. And we're going to rate them from 1 to 10 for all of the cars that have now been revealed. The reason there is 11 is because Alpine have 2 liveries, because they're greedy and they want a pink livery and a blue livery. We're going to rate them all from 1 to 10, worst to the best. It's going to be a little bit harder this year for the simple fact that every car is carbon. But there are a couple of cars that stand out and are pretty nice. So hopefully we will be able to choose the best one. Hopefully. This is the Alfa Romeo. I mean, I don't think it looks as nice as last year, but I don't think it looks terrible. The Alpha Tauri is an interesting one because it has a nice design, but is it spoilt by the red? There's actually very little carbon on the Alpha Tauri, but is it spoilt by the red? Some people say yes, some people say no. I think I'm probably saying yes. This Alpine, I love the Alpine blue. I love it, but I don't like it with the pink. Now, we have to kind of talk about these at the same time. I actually think that pink Alpine looks fantastic. I really do. The pink Alpine looks great because there isn't those colors fighting each other. It's black and it's pink. Sure, there's a little bit of blue on the BWT lettering, but it's pink and it's black. I actually think it looks really nice. Whereas the blue Alpine, you've got blue, which looks fantastic. It's such a nice shade of blue, with the black carbon. And then it's fighting against the pink. You got the pink front wing, rear wing, and side pods. No. No. Okay. Now, then we have the Aston Martin. Now, the Aston Martin isn't really much of a livery. It's basically one colour with a yellow stripe. However, I do think it looks elegant. And there isn't that much carbon. Yeah, you know, there's black under the chassis here going under the side pod, but for the most part, it's coloured. Then we have the Ferrari. Now, I actually think the Ferrari looks really nice. I like the fact that they've got Ferrari on the rear wing now, rather than just having it plain like it did last year. But this looks weird to me. Like, why have they just got this patch of carbon fibre here? I don't understand. You've got carbon here, and then you've got carbon there. Well, why is there a patch here? Why have they done that? I don't really understand. Is it to separate the sponsors? Did they need to shave another 2 grams or something? That is weird to me. But as a whole, I think the car looks nice. Now, the Hadz. You've heard of carbon, right? Next to the Mercedes, this is probably the car with the most carbon, I'd say. It's hard to judge completely, but I think some of the engine cover here is actually painted. But then the side pod area, this is all carbon. I'm unsure on the Hadz. Moving on to McLaren. This is actually an image with the last year's car and this year's car. As you can see, last year's car had an absurd amount of black, didn't it? And this year's car is the same. It's just... you've got such an iconic color in the papaya orange, and then you've ruined it with so much black. This, for reference, is the livery. This was their like one-off like livery that they had. I just don't think it looks that nice. But hey ho. Mercedes. Now, it's hard to call this a livery because a large percentage of the car is actually liveryless, if you think about it. So you can see the line here. All of the front wing is carbon. The monocoque here is carbon. Carbon, 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 carbon. The rear wing is carbon. And you can see the paint line here. This whole area here is painted. The halo is painted. And the top part of the front wing and nose cone is painted. And then obviously you've got the classic Petronas stripes. So really, when you think about a livery, it's just some stripes with carbon and some stars. But something about it, I actually kind of like. Because you've got the fluorescent numbers, green for George and yellow for Lewis. I kind of like it, but I would prefer it if it was paint and not carbon. Red Bull. Now, Red Bull's an interesting one, and bearing in mind, we're only talking livery. I think, you know, Red Bull haven't changed their livery now for quite some time, really. It's very, very small tweaks. It is an iconic looking livery. Arguably, you've got the sort of dark blue just with the, you know, the Red Bull logo on the engine cover. I actually still think it's a really elegant looking car. Oh yeah, this whole area here, this whole bottom area is all going to be carbon to save weight. This whole bottom area here will 100% be carbon. I think it's a good looking car. Like livery wise, I think it's nice. They're not doing something mad, but you know, all the sponsors have their place. I think it looks nice. So last but not least, Williams. Now, I am still not in love with this Williams design, but I do think it looks better than last year. I think the engine cover is a little bit tidier compared to last year. I thought last year was a little bit muddled. You've got to give them props, even though this is on last year's car, you've got to give them props for this Duracell on the airbox. It's so clever. It's so clever. I love it. And overall, the blue kind of blends in a little bit better. The pattern isn't as muddled as it was last year. Obviously, this whole bottom area here is going to be carbon again. Carbon, the theme of the year. Overall, though, I don't dislike it. I don't dislike it. I'm not sure where I'm going to rate it yet, though. I think for me, I'm going to throw some names into the hat. I think the Hadz is the worst looking car. Which do we think is the best looking car? I know it's controversial because there isn't really a livery. I'm going to temporarily put Mercedes up there, Red Bull, and Ferrari for now. Just for now. Just for now. And despite the fact that it is just predominantly green with sponsors, because it still looks pretty elegant, I think I'm going to put the Aston Martin in this area as well. Obviously, I'm going to separate these into top 10. I'm just temporarily putting them where I think they should go. I think Alpha Tauri are going to go in and around there. I don't think the McLaren is actually that nice. I think it's got so much black on it. I think the problem for me with the McLaren is the black is in the wrong place on the engine cover. I think it would have looked so much better if the engine cover was in papaya. I'm thinking McLaren is going to be in and around here. I don't think this Williams livery is that bad. I think I would take the Williams livery over the Alpine and the Hadz. Okay. So I'm gonna put So you think that I'm gonna put McLaren in 9th, Alpine in 8th then? I really like the Alpha Tauri. Like sort of the way that they have the bull and the white on the blue. I really like what they do with that. I just don't like the red accents. And that's the problem for me. I think if the red accents weren't there, that would be one of my top liveries. Because I thought last year's car was really nice. I still like the overall design of the Alpha Tauri enough, though, to keep it above Williams. Because, yes, I don't like the red accents, but I still like the base design enough to keep it where it is. Do you know why Ferrari can't be top for me? Do you know why Ferrari can't be top? I think it's a beautiful looking car. I really do. This carbon fiber patch here doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand why there's a patch there, and that's why it can't be top. And I understand that that is a nonsense reason, but I have to have a reason, and that's why it won't be number 1. I appreciate that Mercedes isn't a livery. But it looks good, though. I don't know. I think it looks good. So it's really frustrating because, yes, it isn't really a livery. It's just some stripes on carbon, really, isn't it? But I kind of like it. Okay. Here's what I'm doing. I'm backtracking on what I said. I said I can't have Ferrari first because of that carbon bit on the side pod, but I can't have Mercedes first because 75% of their car is carbon. And I know Ferrari have got some carbon. I am going to put Ferrari in first. And I'm going to put Mercedes second because I really like the look of the Mercedes. But it can't be first because there's just so much carbon. I think if it was painted, it would be different. I'm going to have Aston Martin in third because I just like the Aston Martin green. I really like the Red Bull, but it's going fourth because it's just not that exciting anymore. I've gone with Alfa Romeo in fifth. AlphaTauri in sixth. AlphaTauri would be higher up if it wasn't for the red accents. Williams in seventh, just because I think it's better than the Alpine, the McLaren, and the Haas. The Alpine, if it was all blue, would be much higher up because I really like that shade of blue, but the pink just ruins it for me. The McLaren livery's all over the place. Way too much black. It just doesn't look right. The papaya is the star of the show, and there's no papaya. Well, limited papaya. The Haas just looks terrible to me, which only leaves the pink Alpine, which controversially, I'm going to put in a joint third place. Because I actually think the pink Alpine looks really nice. I actually really like the pink Alpine because it works well with the pink and black. And that is my final positions that I'm sure everyone will disagree with. And there'll be no further word on it.